What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? It's David here with Mac Tutorials 14. So I'm actually sitting down because I keep getting complaints about the fact that when I, record vlogs, I'm standing up. I know I need to sit down, but it's just, it's so I don't know what the deal is with this. It's just so it's a really bad habit that I have, but it's like, so for some reason I feel the need to do it every time I'm vlogging on my iPhone. Just because I used to do it, now the normal vlogs that I do, I can't really do that anymore because of the fact that, I'm not going around my house. Really, I'm not going around outside. I'm not going all over the place to make videos. So it's going to look weird if I'm going back and forth, kind of pacing around my room, just not really doing anything. So I wanted to make this video to kind of basically clear up the status of the iOS 8 jailbreak. So iOS 7, we got a jailbreak it's almost been a year, wow. Back in December, so in a couple more months it'll be a year that it happened, back in December of 2013, when the Evaders publicly released Evasion 7. So they were under pressure by a lot of people to release that. A lot of people were working, against them. There was basically a race to see who could put out the jailbreak first, and the Evaders really raced as fast as they could to put something out, regardless of if it was, a good, a good product or not. And a byproduct of that was both that whole Ty-G backlash and the fact that Cydia was not updated for iOS 7 properly. Basically, in the Evaders' head, as long as they got a public jailbreak out for iOS 7, didn't matter what it took, what was bundled inside or what was there or not there, specifically speaking files-wise. They didn't care. They just wanted the spotlight, and they wanted people to be able to jailbreak iOS 7 publicly. So they released this, and there was this whole, if you remember back a year ago, there was this whole Ty-G incident. Basically, if you weren't around for this and you don't remember what I'm talking about, basically what this whole Ty-G thing was basically, if you had Chinese, if you were in China and you had Chinese set as your default language for your device, or even if you weren't in China, if you were just in America and you had Chinese set for your default, basically for your default language, and you jailbroke with Evasion 7, the earlier versions of Evasion 7, it wouldn't ask you, but instead of putting Cydia there, it would instead be bundled with this application installer called I don't even know why I said Touch ID. Ty-G. I guess it's because they both start with T's. I don't know what made me think of Touch ID. I'm sorry. But it was called Ty-G, and basically that's the way to pronounce it in Chinese. And basically, the guys that developed Ty-G basically came up to the Evaders and said, we'll give you $1 million to split between your team evenly if you can come up, with a way, whether it's bundled in via the jailbreak tool or whatever. If you can do something with this, if you could put this in your jailbreak tool, we'll give you $1 million to split between your team. So obviously, $1 million is a lot of money. So the Evaders wanted that money. So a lot of people thought the jailbreaking community had turned sour. It was over because they sold out to these guys. Basically what jailbreaking was about before that was they would take no amount of money. Jailbreaking was for jailbreakers by jailbreakers. It was fighting Apple, the almighty company that was, alongside jailbreaks, that was releasing, software updates to patch the jailbreaks. They just kept releasing new updates to patch them, while the jailbreak team kept releasing new jailbreaks in order to jailbreak the latest firmware. So, it was a constant battle, and so a lot of people thought that the jailbreak community had really turned sour. A lot of that feeling was really lost, and a lot of people had thought that they had sold out, and, that jailbreaking was kind of done for now. But they brought jailbreaking back. Sorek actually pushed out an update for iOS 7. He redesigned Cydia completely, gave it a whole facelift. He brought some later, not for a couple of months, I don't think, but later he brought some drastic changes to Cydia itself. Even if you were on iOS 6, those changes take effect iOS 6 and below. What I mean by that is he moved the installation tab, I believe, into a separate thing, and a sources tab into a separate thing. So you had to go into one thing, and then there were sub headers that you had to go into in order to access it. Well, now he pulled them down, and it's all in his separate icon at the bottom of the application. That way you can access it easier, and it's just easier to go about doing what you would normally do. So basically that's all that really happened for Evasion 7. So basically after Evasion 7 worked from 7.0.4 all the way up to 7.0.6, and then on 7.1 Apple patched the Evasion 7 jailbreak. So for a couple of months, the jailbreaking was, the jailbreaking slot was dry, I guess. We had kind of a jailbreak drought. There wasn't really many tweaks going on because not a lot of people could jailbreak, and people were more interested in what 7.1 had to offer and iOS 8 that was coming up. So they cared more about that than they did about jailbreaking in general. So thus this Chinese company called Pangu, actually in the summer, actually in August, I believe it was either August or July. No, it was August, I believe. Yes, it was. No. Wait, I don't even remember. It was either August. I think it was. Yeah, it was August, definitely, because it was right after I'd come back from camp, and I am still blessing God up there for this, because if it was a couple of weeks beforehand, I would have completely missed it because I was at camp. So I was really, really grateful that I came back, because as soon as I came back, within a week or so, because I had updated, and I was not actually, sorry, it was before I left. So I was glad that it didn't come out a couple of weeks later. So as soon as I updated, I was really regretful, couldn't downgrade, so I was basically stuck on stock firmware for the better part of 2.5 to 3 weeks. So after that happened, I got lucky enough where Pangu, who is the Chinese developer of this jailbreak tool, released a jailbreak tool in order to jailbreak iOS 7.1 that would later all the way go up to 7.1.2. So it did survive through 2 software versions, and it has since been patched in Apple's recent update, iOS 8. So you have 2 separate teams racing against each other, the Evaders and the Pangu jailbreak team, to release an iOS 8 public jailbreak. Now, we don't know when this is going to be, but I'm kind of thinking that it probably will be around the same time as the jailbreak for iOS 7 came out last year, which was in December. It was late December. It was like December 22nd. It was like kind of like an early Christmas present that the Evaders pushed out. So I'm thinking it'll probably come out around the same time, around the holidays, just because it's a great holiday present to get a jailbreak working for iOS 8 or iOS 7 or whatever major firmware is out. That's a great present for people that love jailbreaking. So anyway, this is just like a short little video to kind of talk to you guys about what's been going on. So anyway, Muscle Nerd had tweeted out when iOS 8 got released that yes, it did patch up Pangu's, exploits, and also in iOS 8.1, which no one really has mentioned yet, and I wanted to mention this here, just so you guys know, but basically in 8.1, if the Pangu team releases a jailbreak, unfortunately for iOS 8, unfortunately they cannot do it in the same way as they did for iOS 7.1. If they end up doing it for a 0.1 release, at least they can't do it in the same way. On iOS 8 itself, it doesn't encounter this issue, but on 8.1, the date and time glitch, which a lot of developers use to get unsigned signatures that were signed in a previous date but are now unsigned, they trick the device into thinking that they're signed because they throw it back to a date when the signature was signed, and it tricks the device into thinking that it's okay, and it goes ahead and exploits that and installs it or whatever it does. So this has since been fixed in 8.1. So if they were to jailbreak iOS 8.1, then they're going to have to figure out a new way to be able to do this. So it's not really an issue for the evaders because they're not really looking to do anything like this because they said from a legal standpoint, it's not exactly legal. Probably hence the reason why it has been patched in 8.1, probably because it's not the most legal thing to do. Apple probably doesn't want people doing it anymore. So that's probably the reason why they patched it. So it has been patched. So if Pangu wants to do anything about it, if the Pangu team wants to release a jailbreak for 8.1, they're going to have to go about it in a different way. How I see it happening probably is the Pangu team, if both of them release separate jailbreaks, the Pangu team will release an iOS 8 jailbreak, and the Evaders team will release an iOS 8 jailbreak and an iOS 8.1 jailbreak. Reason why I say that is because the Pangu team is going to be probably hard at work at trying to come up with something soon. So are the Evaders. The Evaders always do like to get things out first. But we do know with, in the past with Green Poison and there was another tool, I forget the name of it, but both came out pretty much a couple of weeks apart, but they came out roughly at the same time, and they were both jailbreaks for iOS 4 or iOS 5. So we have seen this in the past. Developers generally, even if there's a jailbreak out for a firmware, sometimes they don't stop. Sometimes they know that there could be a safer, more reliable, better jailbreak solution out, so they go ahead and push that out for people. And that's basically what Red Snow had done. It so it was Green Poison and Red Snow competing against each other, and Red Snow had gone and pushed an update. The Red Snow dev team in order to support, I believe it was iOS 5. So I think Green Poison was actually, since it was developed by, excuse me for not remembering, forget, he was the, and see, this is the thing, because I know I can remember who it is, but I'm not exactly sure. He was the guy that, that basically got famous for hacking the PS3, and he's basically been all over the place lately. You see him pop up ruining Android. So if you know who I'm talking about, write his name down in the comment area below. I don't know why I can't remember his name. Anyway, so the jailbreak scene looks pretty awesome right now. So if you're still jailbroken, you're likely still jailbroken on iOS 7.1.2 or below. And unfortunately, if you go ahead and decide to restore an update, you will be stuck on Apple's latest firmware, which would be iOS 8.0.2 at the recording of this video. So I do want to stress that right now there is no iOS 8 public jailbreak. So that means if you go ahead and restore and update your device to iOS 8, that means that you are forfeiting your jailbreak. We don't know how long it's going to be. We haven't gotten any indication from either teams saying if their, progress is really, a lot. They started probably looking at, different exploits and security bugs to be able to exploit and get into iOS 8 and iOS 8.1 and be able to hack that and jailbreak it. But we really haven't heard any progress on it. So if we haven't heard any progress on it, I really would take the safe route. And if you don't want to be unjailbroken for long, like I was, I made the stupid decision of updating, the wrong decision. If you don't want to make that decision, stay on iOS 7.1.2 or below as long as you're jailbroken. Now, if you're not jailbroken and you don't care about being jailbroken and just want iOS 8's awesome new features, then go right ahead. I see no reason why you should be holding back to go ahead and update. But again, like I said, if you are one of my subscribers who has successfully jailbroken their device on iOS 7 or even on previous versions, and you're thinking about going higher because you want to update to newer firmware, there is not a jailbreak out for iOS 8 at the time of this video currently. So please keep that in mind. Anyway, guys, that is pretty much it. Just wanted to say, like I said, we don't know that much information about the jailbreak, but I will be one of the first to cover it. You will see it here on Mac Tutorials 14 as soon as an iOS 8 public jailbreak hits, whether it's 8.0 or 8.1 or whatever iOS 8 version it is. Regardless, I will be giving you guys an inside look, a complete tutorial that you guys can follow in order to jailbreak your iOS 8 device. So stay tuned on my channel for more news about the jailbreak, for more news about the tutorial and stuff like that. Anyway, guys, more videos to come. And until next time, this is David signing out. Peace.